5 for Friday, 5 quick nutrition tips for runners and triathletes, episode 101, the Do Hard Things a Day podcast. All right, we just entered triple digits for the podcast, and we are having everyone's favorite triathlon and running coach, Coach Katie Malone's in the house with us, and we are doing 5 for Friday. We are doing 5 quick and easy nutrition tips for runners and triathletes. So welcome back to the podcast again.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, as always. And so we are going to ask you, what are the 5 quick nutrition tips that you would give to aspiring runners and triathletes?
All right. My first one is eat breakfast.
Okay. Eat breakfast. So how important is it? We've always been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Is that true?
I think it is.
Okay. What about people that are intermittent fasting?
That's a good question. Now, let me follow that up with one. What about people who hate to wake up and eat first thing in the morning?
You can do your workout fasted if you prefer. I don't love that, depending on what kind of exercise you're doing. But I think either way, whether you eat first thing in the morning before you're doing a workout, let it digest a little bit and then go eat, or do your workout first thing and then eat, getting something in and getting that protein in first thing in the morning is really important.
Okay. Well, you're the expert. So that's tip number 1.
Okay.
Tip number 2.
Tip number 2, snack. Pack yourself healthy snacks every day.
Healthy snacks?
Yeah, like raw veggies, fruit, eat real food. That might be tip number 3.
Now for snacks, nuts?
Some nuts. You have to be careful.
What do you mean you got to be careful?
What I mean is you can't eat half a jar of nuts. Mm-hmm. You can eat maybe a small handful of nuts, and that would be a serving. Yeah. So you have to be careful with serving sizes when it comes to nuts.
I could walk over to our pantry and pull out, I've got little snack size bags, the little Ziploc bags, and I put 20 nuts in there. Now, and you may not like this, but I'm a salty guy, not sweet. I love salty stuff. And I get the salt and vinegar almonds. I know you may not like those, but that's not terrible. But I put 20 in there. In almonds, I'll put 20 almonds, and that's generally about 1 serving. I'll put those in a bag, and that way I don't carry around a huge bag and eat a whole. I mean, there's been sometimes when I'm on the road and I've got one of those big bags, I'll eat the entire bag during the day. And I'm thinking it's almonds, so it's healthy. But then you look down and it's like, holy cow, that's 2,000 calories of almonds that I ate today.
Right. And so that's where, packing it ahead of time, like you're putting it in a little snack bag, that's the best thing you can do for yourself, because that way you have everything prepared. So when you're hungry, you are grabbing something that's good for you that you've got with you.
Okay. All right. Tip number 3, and you kind of got into it.
Oh, I said eat real food.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean real food? Isn't all food real?
Yeah. I mean, not processed food. Mm-hmm. Stay away from the breads, the chips, the crackers, all the things that you tend to go to when you're really hungry. That's why if you pack your food ahead of time, and I mean, you can eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and be better off than eating a pack of crackers.
I've been doing really good. Jed will tell you. And when I leave in the morning, I'm packing my little girl's lunchbox, and I pack mine, and I've got this massive gray Yeti soft cooler.
He's got an 18-pack Yeti cooler that he uses as a lunchbox.
And I pack my and I've been packing real food. I eat beets, and celery with guacamole, those kind of things. You mentioned bread. That's always a sore subject with people. Are there different levels of, let's call it, badness of bread?
Oh boy. So when it comes to bread, typically I like Dave's Killer Bread. That's kind of my go-to bread. As long as I'm not racing. If you're going to eat something before you race, then I'm going to all white and just very easy to digest. But in general, if you're going to eat bread, eat something with nutritional value. And that's really when you're picking your foods, you want to pick things with good nutritional value. Like you need to kind of prepare your body for what you're going to ask from it. And so like by making good choices when you go to the supermarket. And honestly, one of my tips too is when you're at the supermarket, look at your basket. Look at what's in it. Don't buy the junk. If you buy it, you're going to eat it. Even if you're like, oh, this is for my kids. Don't buy your kids that junk. Your kids don't need to eat it either.
Yeah.
And they're going to get it somewhere probably, but you don't have to have it in your house.
Well, you can control what you can control. And we've got one that is a runner, and she's dealing with her iron, and it's hereditary, and she's struggling with that. But we control what we can control, and for breakfast, for dinner, the things that we're putting in her body while she is with us, because we know at school and other things. And I'm not going to be such a Nazi about it that I'm like, no, you can never have a snack with your friends. I mean, that just turns them against it. But you're right. The thing, and I'm the world's worst. And I will, if you get those things for your kids, like the little zebra cakes and that kind of stuff. Well, I know this. There's a lot of times I'm coming home and I'm getting home a little bit late from work, and everybody goes to sleep, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to chill out for a minute and turn on the TV, watch some sports or Netflix series or something, just to kind of zone out. And it's at those points in time when I'll get up from my chair and you walk in and you just open the pantry. And look. It's like, oh man, I'm going to eat one of those zebra cakes. And next thing you know, you're just putting this crap in your body, and then you feel bad. And I don't know how about the other people, but I'll be 50 this year, and I feel when I eat a bunch of junk, processed stuff, the next morning I literally feel like I've got a hangover. I feel like it used to be when you were younger and you just got a bad hangover, and your body just everything. And so that's the ingredient list is long. I heard that said before. If the ingredient list is long, it's generally going to be bad for you.
What I've heard that goes along with this too is spend 90% of your time in the grocery store on the outside.
Yes.
Don't go inside very much at all.
Definitely. But, and what Kevin was just talking about, really, that's what I consider mindless eating.
Yep.
And as soon as you catch yourself doing that, that's when you have to really make a mental note, be like, whoa, what am I doing? Stop. If I'm really hungry, eat something with nutritional value. Make yourself a little salad. Yeah. Salads are so easy to make these days. Heck, they come in a bag half the time. But that's where you really have to be intentional and ask yourself, am I eating what I should be eating?
And, the pushback, Coach, is going to be that it is more expensive to, and in fact, I'll use Jed and his wife, who she's training. She's going to be doing a half marathon at the Disney next January. And Jed is actually going to be doing the 5K down at the Disney this year, but his first one. But they were talking about it we went to the grocery store and bought stuff. It's like, it's more expensive to eat health. That's always a pushback. But I encouraged her, when you start eating these nutritionally dense things that are you're not going to be eating as much of these other things. And so I don't think what I found, because we try to eat healthy, and we buy a lot of produce, we've got a local farmer. We buy our eggs and we get grass-fed and finished beef, those type of things, and it is so we're eating things that are pretty expensive, but really have not seen a huge increase in our grocery and food bill.
Right. I really, in terms of grocery bill and eating healthy, I am very careful to plan out kind of what we're eating, what we've got going on for the week. I'll cook once and eat twice from it, maybe even 3 times, because I like to eat my dinner for lunch after I've done a workout. The dinner that I cooked the night before, I'll probably have for lunch, and I'll probably feed my family that evening as well. And I try to always have a starch, a vegetable, and a protein. The protein does not have to be meat. Meat is expensive, and you can do really well on rice and beans. And rice and beans are cheap.
Yeah.
You have lentils, you have black beans, you have all sorts of great northern beans. There are all sorts of beans that taste different, that provide different texture, that can give you good protein, and they're cheap.
Yeah. And really good.
Yes. So, yes, it can be expensive, but you can do it within a budget as well.
Yeah. And what's the most important? I mean, look, you're going to pay later. I mean, you're going to take care of your health either sooner or later. And when it's later, you're going to be taking care of your health, and it's going to be a doctor that is going to be putting things in your body to repair or try to offset the damage that you've done. So you've got the opportunity now, even if it is just a hair more spent, to be able to put these good things in your body.
Definitely.
Tip 4.
So we got snacks, we got to eat real food. With dinner, I think dinner is also really important, and trying not to eat late. And that's where, if you have your food prepared ahead of time, whether you're doing meal prep or whether you're, cooking in the evening, I try to cook late afternoon so that when I'm hungry, dinner's done and we can eat. Because if I'm trying to go to the grocery store, cook, and feed my family, we're not going to be eating until like 8:00 at night.
Now, do you like a hard stop? I don't eat past this time?
In a perfect world, that'd be great, but my life is not like that.
Same.
But do you plan now? One advantage of the intermittent fasting is there is a window that you eat your food in, and I can tell you're not a huge fan of it. But one of the benefits of it is that when that window closes, you stop.
Right.
And we don't have to dive all deep into that, but I guess to go back to that question would be, would you encourage people to try to aim for this time, 8:00 or 9, or try to aim to be done with your eating at that point?
Ideally, yeah. You don't want to be eating close to the time you're getting in bed, because you want to have some time to metabolize it before you go to sleep. But I also know that when you have kids, when you have a family, when you have a busy schedule, things don't necessarily work out like that, and you need to eat. Like, it's more important to eat your dinner than it is to starve yourself and not eat, because you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and eat who knows what.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I remember my parents telling me when I was in high school and in college, like, nothing good happens after midnight. There's nothing good you're going to be out there doing after midnight. Of course, that's just when the party's starting, but that's a different story.
You're leaving to go out.
Yeah, and I think there's some similarity. I know with me, there are some similarities of the later it gets, the less discipline I have on. I mean, if it's pushing up late, even if I'm on the road and coming back and I've got my Yeti full of good food, you're driving in and it's like, man, I'm getting hungry. It's later. I tend to be more undisciplined the later it gets.
Well, definitely, because your brain runs on the fuel from what we eat. And if you haven't eaten, or you haven't eaten well, or you haven't eaten enough to really support yourself, you're going to make bad decisions. That's why you don't want your kids out late at night, because they're going to make bad decisions.
True story. True that. Number 5.
I think the most important part with what you eat is having support at home and discussing with the people in your family what you're going to eat, what you're going to buy, why you're doing it. Because if you have your family bringing in junk food all the time and not supporting your decision to eat healthy, it makes it really difficult. And that is probably the most difficult thing, is getting everybody on board.
Yeah.
But it is important.
And that is tough. It's a paradigm shift of what is your relationship with food, and is your relationship with food. I mean, especially down here in the South. I mean, food is everything we do revolves around food, and the convenience of things. You get busy. It's just so easy to pick up the processed stuff and do it. But if you, like you said, if you plan, meal prep, do those kind of things, you can really make a difference. And get to people. Because look, if you love the people you live with, don't you want them to be putting good things in their body?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. So that would be my last one.
All right. That's 5 for Friday. That is 5 quick tips. We were able to discuss those things. And hey, just try these things. See what happened. I will encourage you as someone who has implemented some of these things that she talked about. I didn't know what she was going to say. I had an idea, but put these things in my life, and it's really made a difference in everything. Just generally the way you feel, your health. You will see if you start doing these things, you will, again, we're not doctors on this podcast, but you start doing these things, you will see whatever, most of the things that we bring on ourselves, you will see those things start to get better. And then especially if you're starting to age a little bit, you just need to understand that, our clock is ticking. Every single day your clock is ticking. What are you putting in your body? And how are you going to take care of yourself so you can live a long and healthy life? So guys, with nutrition, with everything else we do on the podcast, we just encourage you to do this. Do the hard things today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.